Okay, thank you everyone for joining this master class. What School Rock Alexandria is trying to do is at least twice a week have a master class or an open mic or a parent night or a trivia night. So please keep an eye out on your emails for master classes and other special events. It's being recorded so we can play it back later. And if you can't hear me or have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the master class. So a little bit about me. I'm Steve McKay with the nickname of Mr. Bones. Got that many years ago. We were in a band called Teasin', and there were 3 Steves in the band. So they had to come up with a nickname. Not sure where Mr. Bones came from. I was super skinny back then. Perhaps that's why. And I'm going to play a little video, but I'm going to talk over it. So this is a video of me playing in my current band called Hell Pie. We play kind of a combination of punk and heavy metal. So I'm going to keep this volume low so I can talk over it. So I started playing drums at the age of 10. I started saxophone, and then with my older brother being 4 years older than me, he was playing guitar. So I said, I need to learn something so I can be like my big brother. So I picked up the drums. Parents got me a snare drum at first. Started with snare drum, then quickly moved to a whole drum set. My first band was a neighborhood band. I think we were all like 12 or 13. We called ourselves Night Prowler after the band AC/DC song called Night Prowler. We played a lot of AC/DC because it was quite simple at the time. And since then, I've been in maybe 10 bands. Mostly cover bands. Cover bands, we play like School of Rock. We play covers of musicians, bands that we like, and played up and down the East Coast, different clubs, and started writing our own music. We got cover bands and original bands. Original bands sometimes play covers and vice versa. I prefer originals because you can do your own thing. Write your own songs, music, and just get to express yourself more. Cover bands are great. I still play a lot of covers in our band. The fans like it, and we also do our own original music. So I'll have links to the CDs that I've put out at the end of the master session. And let's move on to a little bit more about myself. These are my current setup. Tama Star Classic Maple. I prefer the maple. It's got a little deeper sound. Iron Cobra double pedals. Since I play a lot of heavy metal, double pedals really come into play. It's easier to carry around one bass drum with 2 pedals, so it's a double pedal on one bass drum. Sabian cymbals, I used to use Zildjian. I cracked a lot of them because I'm a very heavy hitter. Sabian seems to hold up a little more with heavy hitters like myself. I prefer the ProMark 5B Kashiri Oak. Again, they don't splinter or break as much. And I also have Roland V drums at home for practice, and Latin percussion, bongos, djembes, cajon drums, and congas. You can also integrate these, if you're playing a drum solo, it just doesn't have to be on a drum set. Neil Peart of Rush, he incorporates V drums and percussion into his drum set and his drum solos. So what is a drum solo? It's an instrumental solo typically played on a drum set. Depending on the genre, it could be hand drums, one drum, Like one drum you might see at your middle school or high school band. They'll just have a solo on the snare drum. Hand drums, a lot of Latin music, Jamaican music, incorporate a lot of hand drums into their drum solos. You also have bucket drums. If you ever go to a park and see a bucket drummer, they may have a couple buckets. So it just doesn't have to be a drum set. It could be buckets, tubes. I say tubes because Blue Man Group, they have big drum sections during their theatrical, their Broadway shows, and they use tubes and all kind of different things you would never really assume to be a drum. Percussion, electric, and acoustic drum sets. Some drummers, like jazz drummers, they like to keep an even tempo during the whole drum solo. They can get very technical, but yeah, for some reason, a lot of them like to keep a same level, same tempo throughout the whole thing. Some drummers like to get very technical, but you have to look based on your crowd. Who is your crowd? Are they other musicians? Will they be impressed if you play very technical drums? Or are you just dealing with people coming to see a show? They might not care so much about technical. They just want to see some flash and some heavy hitting and some speed. So there's just so many different takes on a drum solo. Some drummers like to be flashy and wild, use their hands, twirl sticks, throw sticks, shout at the crowd. That's all just to bring them into, make them a part of the drum solo. And there's some people that don't like drum solos. They just think it's a waste of time. It doesn't really seem like a melody or a song, which I feel that you should add some melodies into your drum solo, so it is like a song. It's not just going crazy on the drums. We'll get to that later. And when might you play a drum solo? Well, you have open mics. A lot of those typically in big towns where you can bring your drum set, do a quick drum solo. There's also drum competitions. Hopefully School of Rock will have a drum solo competition in the near future. When would you play a drum solo with your band? Typically you would schedule the drum solo in a specific spot in your song list. So there might be a point in your band's set where the guitarist have to change guitars, or the singer just sing a really hard song is going to need a break. So a lot of bands incorporate the drum solo so the rest of the band can take a break. There's been an instance where my band was playing and I didn't plan on playing a drum solo, but we were playing and the electricity went out in the nightclub. So we waited, we looked around, the crowd's getting angsty, so I said, guys, I'm going to play a drum solo while they fix this. So I played a couple minutes and crowd went crazy, and about the same time I stopped, the lights turned on, the guitarists turned their amps back on, and we continued the show. So it's always good to have something, even if it's like a short drum solo, just for those instances. Types of drum solos. Well, I've found some great mind-blowing drum solos. I'd love to play these videos, but they are copyright and we can't play them through Zoom. So I will send you a document with all these links after the class. One I found, a young girl was just tapping on the drums in a shopping mall, and people walking around, what's she doing? And then she just lit it up. She went crazy, and just everybody stopped in their tracks and just stopped and looked in amazement. Stevie Wonder, famous for his songwriting, his singing, his piano playing, but look it up. Stevie Wonder is blind, but he can play drums better than a lot of people I've seen. So amazing. Definitely worth looking up. He's got a couple videos out there of drum solos. Drum solos can be a part of a song. Two of the most famous drum solos are John Bonham's drum solo within the song Moby Dick. Neil Peart's famous drum solo is part of the song YYZ. Drum solos can include other instruments. I've always loved to watch a drummer and a bass player, where the bass player is accenting what the drummer's doing. It just adds so much more groove. So integrate a bass player or guitar player or any other instrument just to help kind of add a groove, kind of feel to your drum solo. Tommy Aldridge, famous from many bands, most recently Whitesnake. He played with Ozzy Osbourne, Jake, and Randy Rhoads in some of Ozzy's early albums. He's famous for playing a great drum solo, and he ends it with beating his drums and cymbals with his hands. Drum solos, including other instruments, Neil Peart adds xylophones, V-drums. People add percussion, and other musicians in this case. And another type of drum solo is drum battles. There's a great one with Animal from The Muppet Show, which you see a picture here, and Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters and Nirvana. A great drum battle between those two. The band Godsmack has a song. I don't have the song name in front of me. I believe it's a French name. They have an awesome, I think it's like a 7-minute drum solo. They play it at every show, and they too integrate. They'll have their bass player and guitar player jump in and play along with certain parts of it. So another great type of drum solo. And of course, practice tools. You could just jump on your drum set and start beating on it, but there's many ways to structure a drum solo, and it all starts with learning rudiments, learning songs, cover songs, finding out, oh, I really like this beat. Well, maybe incorporate that beat or that fill into your drum solo. So use ideas from other drummers. Practice pads, really to get, in order to play a fast drum solo or quick beats, really need to work on your rudiments and your speed and build that up to repetition after repetition. And document your progress. Write down your goals. Very important. Many people have said it, but if you dream of something, I dream of being a big-time drummer on the big stage. Well, that's only a dream until you draw out steps and make it a plan. Plan it out. What will it take for me to get in a band? What would it take for this band to get big, to get on the big stage? So start with small goals and work those up to larger goals. Also document your progress, and when building a drum solo, designing a drum solo, write it out just like a song. In School of Rock, you've done song mapping. So the drum solo, I have an intro, a middle, a funky middle towards the end, and then a big grand finale. YouTube, there are thousands of drum solos out there. Check out, be inspired by other drummers. Rudiments, fills, groove, dynamic, tempo. Don't forget to breathe. Preparing a drum solo. Yes, that's me. I don't sing, I yell. So preparing a drum solo. Early on, I've been playing, I guess, 40 years now. I'm normally not out front watching the band. I'm normally side stage watching the drummer. Whether he's a novice drummer or an expert drummer, you can learn something from every drummer you watch. Incorporate some beats and fills that you enjoy playing. You'll see in my drum solo, you'll recognize some of the beats, some of my favorite beats. They fit my style. Why not put them in the drum solo? That way the crowd may recognize that beat and puts them more into the song, into the drum solo with you. So it invites the crowd and crowd participation. Start simple, gradually build up to a grand finale. I've seen some drummers start really fast, going crazy, and within a minute they're out of breath. They forgot to breathe, they just started too fast. So it's really one simple fact. Start not really simple, just learn to just don't start too fast. Gradually build up the intensity into a big grand finale. Be creative, mix it up with several different parts. Don't overcomplicate it. Most of the people in the crowd aren't going to be musicians, probably not drummers, so they probably won't care too much about, wow, that was really complicated, really hard to play. My advice is, like I said, mix it up with different parts, some complicated, some simple, some to get the crowd into it. If you get it too overcomplicated, there's more risk. So I like to mix it up, some complicated stuff and some just get the crowd into it type beats. Add some showmanship. Look out in the crowd, smile, twirl your sticks, throw your sticks up, get the crowd involved. You'll see that in my drum solo as well. I do a quick stop, kind of stomp, clap my hands, get the crowd involved. It also gives me a time to catch my breath and look over and prepare for the next part of the solo. Keep it musical and fun. Again, you'll see in my drum solo is I add some melody to it, some things you probably recognize, and just have fun with it. That's the most important part, as you know, is if you're not having fun, there's not too much point into playing. You got to enjoy what you're doing. Document the structure and rehearse it. And I'll show you how I've kind of documented my drum solo into different parts, and you can kind of cue, if you know you're going to get into this really groovy part, kind of cue yourself into that as a reminder. All right, the groovy part's coming up. Let me get ready for that. A sample of a drum solo outline. Again, this is a sample. Your drum solo will probably be completely different, but this is very similar to writing a song. Think of a drum solo as a song. You got a snare roll intro, snare to toms and cymbals, a crossover technique on the tom-toms, add some dynamics, throw in some tempo changes, some groovy beats, add some flair, stick twirls, throws, smiles, and you always want to end strong. That's what they'll remember, is the ending. It's got to be big. So very similar to a song: intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, solo, outro. So think of your drum solo as a song. All right, you've done all your work, you're rehearsed, you've played your drum solo like a dozen, 2 dozen times at home. Now you're on stage, you're getting ready to play. Relax. First, relax. If you're tense, you'll probably play too fast, and if you're tense, your arms and your wrist will be tense. So best to relax, stay hydrated and healthy. Stretch. Some great stretching exercises. You want to stretch your wrists, your arms. If you really get into your solo, you want to stretch your shoulders, and of course your legs. Your legs are very important as well. So I normally do a quick lap around the club, or basically pace in the green room, stretch out my hands, do some exercises, some rudiments. Deep breaths. I've played drum solos, and like I said, I've seen other drummers. You get a minute into it, suddenly you're out of breath. You're too tense, you forgot to breathe, and that affects your playing. Check over your core pieces. Your snare drum, most important. You want to make sure the snare is engaged, that the stand is correctly set up so the snare doesn't fall into your lap. Your drum pedals, make sure they're firmly attached to the drum hoops and ready to go. Check your springs. Sticks. You may think you got two good sticks. You look down, you start playing and it's split, or it might have some chunks taken out of it. Make sure you've got good sticks, and make sure your drum throne is set up to your height in a comfortable setting. Your knees should be like a 90-degree angle, but find what's most comfortable for you. Always best to bring your own throne, that way you're totally comfortable. Have extra sticks nearby. Mistakes are going to happen, but it's how you recover from those mistakes. So you may be playing your drum solo, stick splits, you need to be able to grab a stick quickly, so have those sticks nearby. Start at a rehearsed pace and continually check your speed. If you start too fast, you're going to gas out. And then like midway through your drum solo, check, am I playing too fast, too slow? Let me check myself. And again, don't forget to breathe. Deep breaths, get into it, relax, and breathing should come natural. Sometimes it doesn't. Alright, so it's about a 5-minute drum solo. I pre-recorded it last night at the school safely. So I'm going to play this, and we'll go over each part a little later. Jump in the chat if it's too loud, too soft. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you. So now, so that was about 5 minutes. I actually forgot one of my signature moves, but that's okay. And I actually made some mistakes in there too, but it's all how you recover. And most people will never realize you made a mistake as long as you keep going. Um, so in the next section, I'm going to walk through the drum solo in sections. So the intro is snare drum with emphasis on rolls, some rudiments, tempo changes, and dynamics, getting quiet, getting louder. So let's walk through some of this. I'm going to turn it down a little so I can pretty standard double choke roll. I'm going to add I add some rudiments in there. And I just dynamic changes from here. Quickly. It's a rim. It's a rim like a percussion. With that simple clap. Dynamics and tempo change. Next, I add in what I love to do, a stick crossover technique. So you see my arms crisscrossing over each other. Again, added some dynamics, and there should be a melody in here you might recognize. I control this melody one of my themes. Here, get the crowd into it. Now I'm taking some deep breaths, get the crowd into it so they feel a part of your solo, kind of draw them in like a song would. Add some flair, some drumstick twirls, throw them up, and even holler at the crowd. Get right back into it. I'm actually going to rewind. What song is this? Sorry, what song is this? Okay. All right. It's one of the simplest songs in the world. It's Mary Had a Little Lamb. I put it into a drum solo with some double bass, and it sounds awesome. And the crowd, hey, I've heard that. So it draws the crowd in. So let me play that again. Sorry, I had to jump around. So this is Mary Had a Little Lamb with double bass. Simple yet effective. Mary Had a Little Lamb. There I added a genre called go-go, which originated in Egypt. So this is a go-go beat that really draws people. And if you're into heavy metal, it's a very famous drum beat from Metallica, song 1. One of my favorite songs, so why not incorporate one of my favorite beats into a drum solo? Here I'm adding some arm flail. Flail those arms around if you get a minute. The crowd loves it. Going crazy. Next slide. So the next section. You want to play that section. So and here you want to finish strong. So I've played dynamics, tempo changes, some of my favorite beats. Got the crowd into it. So now you want to end strong. Around the step. Here, slow it down. Take a breath. Right. So again, practice habits. Hearing protection. Where have you heard that before? School of Rock. Regular schedule for practice. Just like these days where we're stuck in the house. Schedule time, especially if you have family members or you have to be not interrupt other people because drums are so loud. Let your parents, let your neighbors know, hey, every day like 10 till 12 I'm going to be rehearsing. So if they know about it, they probably won't complain as much. It's good for you just to get on the schedule pace. Again, number one rule here in School Rock, make it fun. If it's a task, if it's a chore, you're just not going to be so passionate about it. So make it fun, and that'll breed passion. Set goals and write them down. So you want to have a 5-minute drum solo. Start documenting, like song mapping, kind of document what parts you want to put into it. But yeah, very important. Set goals, write them down, and then a week or a month from now, go back and look at those goals you set. See if you've made any progress. So track your progress. Have a warm-up routine. We talked about this earlier. You want to stretch your hands, do some rudiments. You just don't want to jump into a song fast. Just like you wouldn't just go out running. You want to stretch and slowly warm up your muscles and just be prepared to, have a warm-up song. A lot of times I'll start with a slow. I'll do my stretches, then I'll start with like a slow, fun song to play, and then I'll really get into some technical stuff. Learn from that. Repetition is key. You want to learn your stuff slow. Playing slow many times is harder than playing fast. That's maybe why people don't want to practice slow, because it's hard. It can be harder. So always, if you're going to do, if you like a beat, start that beat slow, and once you get it down, then speed it up. Work on a mix of theory and enjoyable songs. Again, if all you're doing is theory, 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 oh, this School Rock Method book, boring, boring, boring. Well, throw in some songs that you like to play, so mix it up. Um, Enjoyable songs, simple songs, and some technical songs that you may step out of your comfort zone from time to time. So maybe learn that really hard song from your favorite band, but learn it in pieces, and always end your practice on a high note. You don't want to end your practice frustrated, because then the next time you're getting ready to practice, you may feel, oh, I don't feel like practicing now. And we're going to open it up for Q&A session. Um, let's see. And I'll be sending out these links. Actually, I'll put them in the chat now, and you can look at them later. Let's see.